What's up, guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Deadliest Nerd. This will very likely be my first video, so hopefully it goes well, and I can probably come back on it in the future and pick on it. But anyways, today I'm playing Ready or Not, which is a pretty damn cool SWAT sim that's it's just recently dropped fully on Steam. I've been a supporter of it since it very first released in not even early access, just when the supporter edition dropped. I picked it up, and I usually don't do that. I usually don't go for super early access games, too many letdowns, but I had high hopes for this one, and so far it's living up to them. But so I just wanted to jump into this. We'll start out by going over some of the weapons, just a brief overview, and going from there. So starting out, you've got the R7 launcher, which is just a fancy pepperball gun that obviously any muscle memory that you have on an M4 would be retained switching over to this for the most part. I like the fact that the CO2 canister is hidden in the stock there. It's pretty neat. Fun fact, these things run like $1,500 in real life, so you can buy an actual AR platform for what this costs. Next up is, calls it the TAC 700. That is a Tippmann A5 paintball gun. It's modified. The CO2 tank on that gun is usually hanging out down here. I like the look of it though. It's one of the newer Tippmanns. I played a bunch of paintball back in middle school and high school, and the Tippmann that I had was almost identical, just a older style hopper that was fatter, but cool to see it in the game here. The SA50, which is just a modernized FAL. I assume so. It looks like an FAL, and they call it the right arm of the free world here, so it's one of the nicknames because of how many Western, especially European countries adopted the FAL. Short barrel on that though, like, damn, I would not want to be in the same room with somebody with that thing going off. Let's see, we've got just your standard military M4 platform, Colt. This one, I have mixed feelings on this one in the game because it has very, very manageable recoil. Like, at least the last time I tested it, the recoil on this one is much more manageable than the other M4s or other AR platforms. I'll do a little test here in a minute and see, but what I don't like about it is it retains this front sight post, so like your EOTech and stuff still has that in it. Some folks like that, the upper 1/3 co-witness, but not my gig. The SPR 556. This they actually changed this with I'm playing the February 5th 2022 update, so pretty recent. Today for me is February 8th. But they changed this because it was a 300 blackout, and I don't know why they changed it. They probably just changed the name. I don't know if they changed any of the mechanics. It did have a little bit harsher recoil than the other AR platforms, but not sure about that. The Knight's Armament, the SR16 here, just another AR variant. And you have your H&K 416. Those people who like the direct, not the direct gas, the piston-driven gas systems. Because I'm not sure about the SR16. I know these two almost definitely going to be, well, all three of these are going to be direct gas impingement. Don't know what that is. It's basically a regular M4 has a little tube, like a gas block right here in a tube, that whenever you fire, some of that overpressure from the powder just burning, that general explosion going down the barrel, will dump all that gas back out on your bolt to cycle the gun. Whereas with a 416, you have a kind of a little chamber up here, and there's a steel bolt that goes back to your bolt carrier group, and it acts as a piston. So whenever that little explosion essentially goes in right here, that steel rod pushes everything back and cycles your bolt. So it tends to be a little bit heavier on guns like that, and tend to have a little less accuracy at distance, as far as your groups will open up a bit more if you're shooting real far out. But it is a generally more reliable system, and just mainly because it shoots cleaner. You're not dumping a whole bunch of hot gas back onto your bolt over and over again. You got your MK1 carbine. This is just a Daniel Defense M4 with key mod rails. They basically said it was a DDM4 when they released it, but to my knowledge, most of that, well, I guess the Mark 12 would be the military variant, but those usually have a quad rail and not the key mod going up the side here. But still cool. Scar Light for destroying optics. Then the small boy AK. That thing is beautiful. I hadn't actually used it a lot in the game, but something about short-barreled AKs is just, it's fantastic. So that does it for the assault rifles. SMGs, you have MP5A2, which is pretty cool. I'd like to see the SD added on here. Just that integrated suppressor, it's hard to beat that as far as cool factor goes. Your UMP45. Fun fact about the UMP45 I learned recently. This gun was essentially handmade for Delta, like Delta Force. There's a lot of input for the gun, but it took H&K so long to actually get it together that Delta had kind of already started shifting towards just shorter M4 platforms that you see in movies like Black Hawk Down. So Larry Vickers had a interesting little conversation on that. Let's see, and then you got an MPX, just 6 hours version essentially of an AR. Had a baby with a MP5. While the MPX is cool, something about that MP5 is just hard to beat. It's just such an iconic weapon and has a lot of history, and just it's cool. Hard to beat H&K on cool points, even though you can sell your organs and probably still not have enough to afford one. And then next up is got your less than lethal shotgun, which I'm actually interested, because they call these less than lethal for very good reason. They still carry a lot of kinetic energy, so if you hit someone like directly over the heart or in the temple, throat, anywhere that it's kind of squishy with things that don't need to be damaged underneath, it can still kill. This shows says requires controllers repeat shots have the potential to unintentionally kill your target. So I hadn't tested that on here though. That'd be interesting to see. Let's see. You have your Benelli M4. It's a sweet shotgun. I'm glad they included that. Then your Remington 870 here. So I'm more of a Mossberg 590 fan, or 500, either one. And the only reason for that, because the shotguns are very, very similar, but the slide release on the 870 is up here towards the front of the trigger guard, and on the 590 and 500 series, your slide release is back here, so you really don't have to come off of your fire control as much to work that slide. I'm sure there's people who can manipulate it either way just fine. I can, but I do prefer the 500 just for that little reason. I mean, other than that, very interchangeable. The 870 is a very popular shotgun as far as the law enforcement sector goes. And secondary, there we go. Your standard Glock 19 here. I believe the 17 might be the. Oh, look at my gloves glitching through that there. That's cool. But I believe the 17 might be the most universally used Glock variant, at least as far as police agencies in the U.S. go. I do like the 19 though. It really hits that sweet spot between portability and concealability, and still having a long enough barrel and a high enough magazine capacity to make it a good fighting pistol. It's actually is my go-to in real life. It's very, very good pistol. And then you've got the two world wars here. No, all kidding aside, have some fun love here. This is, I believe it's actually based on the Kimber, there's a MUSOC pistol made for the Marine Expeditionary Unit's special operations capable units, like the Recon Marines and Force Recon. And I think MARSOC got them just for association. But they weren't a huge hit, and the 1911 is really at this point an outdated weapon system compared to a lot of what's out there, but I still love them. It's the closest thing in the U.S. to a something like a samurai sword, I guess. Like, you know, Japan has their iconic weapon of the katana, and ours would be I guess the 1911. That's the oldest, most iconic weapon, in my opinion. I mean, you could argue something like Colt single action armies and just revolvers in general from the West, but that gun's just very iconic. Still very capable. It's just I don't think it's the best option with all that's available nowadays. Next up is the 357 Magnum, which is awesome that they included it, because you could actually probably do a little LARPing on here. If you wanted to play like 80s cop, you could probably run this 357 Magnum with the Remington 870, and that would probably be about the extent of the arsenal of like a small town cop in the 80s, or probably even some larger departments, because you know, it's just been in the last 25 years that there's been a big shift from revolvers to automatic handguns for law enforcement agencies. So I think it's cool they included it. I hadn't really used it. I don't see really any advantage to using it on here, but it's awesome that they have it. Then you have your Beretta M9 P92X. It's like the P90X. Makes me think of that workout program. But anyways, this it's overall good pistol. I think it's kind of inferior to a Glock, in my opinion. It's more complex, more things that can break or go wrong. I do like the double action trigger on those. From what I've messed with them in real life, they have a great trigger pull. They do have a longer sight differential than the Glock 19, so it's comparable. But anyways, once again, cool that they added it. But I don't really see any advantage that this would have over the Glock 19. Let's see, you have your taser. I think that's an X. I don't know which version that's directly based off of. Looks similar to X7. I've been hit with an X7. That was a bad 5 seconds of life. That's part of getting certified with one, but it's not pleasant. Not pleasant at all. Then you have a 5.7 here, which I have mixed feelings on this pistol. I really like that you have a 20-round magazine. The recoil is I hadn't shot one personally, but from what I've researched on them, the recoil is pretty minimal. Snappy, but it's minimal. But the round overall is pretty comparable to a 22 Magnum. There's some people out there preaching that this is like a miracle round that'll punch through body armor and do crazy things with terminal ballistics when it hits a soft target. From the ballistic gel test that I went and checked out, it's not a super impressive round. But I mean, it's a cool pistol. Looks awesome. Always makes me think of Splinter Cell as Sam Fisher's pistol in most of the Splinter Cell games. So, cool points for that. Overall, cool pistol. I'd like to try one, but I don't know if I would actually, if I would use one as a go-to combat pistol. And then got the suppressed USP-45 here, which big cool guy points on this one, because whenever I think of this, I think of like the Navy SEALs of the 1990s. I think that's just because of the old SOCOM games. I mean, the SEALs did use this. I think their designation was the Mark 23. But yeah, it just gives me some nostalgia whenever I see one of these suppressed, because it takes me back to playing SOCOM on the PlayStation 2, which was some good times. You have your long tactical options. I'll spin my dude around. It's just shown on his back. You have the mirror gun, which is what I tend to go with on here, because being able to see under doors or around corners sometimes is the difference between living and dying. Knowing whether you should expend a lot of resources on a room, like if you should breach it and throw a flashbang in, or just kick the door open and double check to make sure it's clear. But probably, at least when you're playing with AI, probably the most useful tool in my opinion. The breaching shotgun, it's nice. A little bit of testing I've done with it. You can actually breach doors from a pretty respectable distance back. So if it's a door that you can't check to see if it's trapped with a frag grenade or a flashbang, as some of the doors in this game are, you can actually get, it seems like a couple yards away from it, and shoot the door, or shoot the locking mechanism, and it will open the door, and it's usually enough to trigger whatever that explosive is. You have your hard ballistic shield, your rescue shield. I really don't know what the differences in these are. As far as their description, it's the same. The only thing I know is the ballistic shield appears to be more rigid, and the rescue shield seems to be of a softer, like Kevlar. I guess there'd be advantages to both. I mean, the ballistic shield's obviously, it's going to provide better protection overall. In a real life scenario, I imagine in the game they probably do about the same. But whereas the rescue shield would be quite a bit better if you're going through a really confined space where the ballistic shield's going to get stuck, or be real cumbersome to move it through. And then you have your good old key to the city there, just your master key. I think it says knock knock on it right there. Maybe. Can't tell. I hope it does. I hadn't actually used it. Sure, it's useful in like if you're playing multiplayer, but playing solo, I think the breaching shotgun's a better way to go, because it does give you that standoff distance from the door. And let's see, gear. You have no armor, which I mean, it gives you, I assume, really good mobility, but I don't see the point in it. Your light armor, which is what I tend to run, it does leave pretty decent bit of your body exposed there, but I'll take that for mobility in those close-in fights. And you have your heavy armor, which this is actually the closest to what SWAT teams are running in real life. If you look at any pictures of SWAT when they're out on a call, almost all the officers are rocking this much armor. And it makes sense. I mean, if you're going into a house where somebody probably has a gun, or you know they have a gun, and they start shooting, rounds are going through walls and stuff, like, you want as much of your body covered with armor as possible. I don't run it on here just because I do want the increased mobility, but you can sure as shit bet that if I had to go in on a suspect in real life, yeah, I'd want that much. I can understand, like, a military setting, this lighter armor, I can see the advantage to that, because you probably having to move over a lot greater distances, and you know, you don't have to play by as nice of rules as a SWAT team or police when you're in a war zone. So, but I'm running this. I like it. Your headwear, you go with none. I don't know if that gives you any kind of mobility advantage, but if it doesn't, I don't see any reason to go with it. NVGs, which that's I don't know what kind of NVGs these are. Probably PVS 14s. It's general go-to. I do dig these though. They on this recent update, they actually revised the way the NVGs work. So I've been enjoying that, because they improve the way that they look. They have a lot better clarity. I'll show you later in the video, but and one of the very realistic things that they updated is they don't get super washed out from light sources. Like, because in real life, NVGs, like, they can get washed out from light, but just going into a room with the lights turned on, it's not like you're blind all of a sudden. Like, you can still see, as long as you don't, you know, stare at a flashlight or a lit bulb or something. So you have your riot mask. I imagine if you're actually going for, like, the high score on this game, your chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear riot mask, which I don't see where you're going to be running into CBRN during a riot, but definitely the C part. But yeah, if you're going for a really high score in this game, I can see setting your whole squad up with these and just gassing the hell out of every room before you go into it being a very viable tactic. Probably not the funnest way to play the game, but I mean, probably work well. Anti-flash goggles. Says they have a special coating to mitigate bright lights and scratches. I don't think these are a real thing. I mean, there's definitely coatings out there that help minimize, you know, the glare of objects and things that are overly bright. But I don't think it's going to help against a flashbang necessarily. Like, because it's not like there's sunglasses or something. Like, the amount of photons coming through that's still, you know, it's still just a clear glass. So I mean, it would probably help slightly to have some goggles on, because that overpressure won't be hitting your eyes necessarily, but I don't think that's a real thing. I could be wrong though. If I am, please somebody let me know. And then you have your ballistic face mask. Hadn't really used this. I guess if you use this with a fully, like, up armored version of your character, you'd be you could probably take some hits on here. This one though I do like. It makes more sense than like the weird little black like Wish.com looking face mask that you see a lot of third world countries running, because it makes people look scary and also makes them easier to kill because they can't see and have a weight strapped to their face. This one makes a lot more sense though, because it looks like it's actually integrated into the helmet system. So if you took a round to it, it's not right on top of your face. So one, it's got room to deform, and two, you've got a lot more surface area for that kinetic energy to dissipate over, instead of just into your face. Would it feel good? No, but would it keep you from dying? Probably, maybe. So that's it for headwear. Let's see, grenades. You have your flashbang, your CS, and your ouchie grenades. So these two I know are used all the time by SWAT teams. The stinger grenades, I actually don't know how often they're used. I imagine they'd be more useful for like for riot situations, or I don't even know about that, because one of those rubber balls hitting somebody in the eye probably be a bit of a liability. So yeah, I mean, it's cool they included it, but I just run flashbangs on here. To me, it seems like the CS you would have to get your whole squad geared up with the CPRN masks. So I don't want to keep that. Switch that back to NVGs because I'm a cool guy. Then tactical devices down here at the very bottom. You have C2, which I don't know why they can't just call it C4. I mean, it's plastic explosive breaching device. Maybe it is C2. I don't know. Door wedge. These are super useful in the game, because you do have areas that you'll come up to that you'll be in a hallway and you'll see a door at the far end of the hallway and a door like closer in on your left or right, and being able to wedge one of those so that people can't flee through it as you push through is actually pretty useful. It was pretty useful to wedge exterior doors up until recently. They changed it so that AI aren't supposed to flee outside of the house. They're supposed to flee like deeper into the house. So, which makes sense. It was kind of weird before they added that update, because you'd be in a gunfight and somebody would run out the back of the house, which if you were like a patrol cop, that makes sense. But if a SWAT team's deployed, that house is surrounded by police. Like, every exterior angle is going to be covered. So realistically, like a suspect who knows a SWAT team's coming in, and they're wanting to fight, they're probably not going to flee outside, because that's going to be a real quick death. And pepper spray. I hadn't tried pepper spray on here either. I could tell you from personal experience of being hit with pepper spray and being around people who have been hit with pepper spray. It is some nasty stuff. It is Satan's piss. I hate pepper spray. I would take the taser over pepper spray, only because it lasts like 5 seconds and then it's over. It's a really, really, really bad 5 seconds. But the pepper spray, though, I don't think any one moment is as bad as the taser. It lasts for much, much longer. If you're lucky, it takes somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 45 minutes to an hour to fully recover from pepper spray. And that varies a lot by person. That's about how long it took me. I've seen some people who they seem normal after like 15-20 minutes. A small percentage of the population has essentially no reaction to pepper spray, and there's some people who it bothers them for multiple days. I know a guy who you're not supposed to rub your eyes when you get hit with pepper spray, because there's flakes inside of it that when you rub your eyes, it can actually scratch your retina. And I know a dude who had to redo the police academy, or restart it essentially, because he damaged one of his eyes rubbing essentially the flakes from pepper spray deeper in. One other thing I hadn't tested on here, I don't imagine it's a thing. There's multiple instances in real life of where cops have deployed pepper spray and then deployed a taser, and most newer pepper spray won't do this, but some of the older pepper spray was flammable. So they have accidentally set people on fire a number of times using that combination of pepper spray and a taser. So it's no bueno. But that's it for your gear on here. I need to switch that back to the mirror gun and switch this back to, I'm gonna run the, actually gonna do this test right quick. I'm gonna show an interesting little way that you can see which kind of the recoil patterns of guns on this game. So you can take the EOTech or any of the red dots, and this target right here works well just because it has this piece of wood that comes across and bisects the target at a low point. So and this game realistically simulates height over bore, so you'll notice I'm gonna put the dot of my EOTech like just right on the target there and squeeze off around, and it actually impacted the wood about an inch or two below my point of aim. And so that's pretty realistic. EOTechs in real life, if you're running a combat 0, 7 yards is usually the bottom of that little donut of death there. So that's why some people who run CQB really like it, because you can just kind of, like, if you had to make a headshot on that, you can just throw the bottom of that ring on where you want to hit. That's going to be pretty close to your point of impact, because that bullet's having to rise to meet the essentially the plane of your sight line and of your 0. So here's what I was talking about with measuring the recoil. So if you aim right there at the base of it and don't correct for your recoil, so don't pull your mouse back down, and just fire single shot, let it come to rest. So that was one shot, hit the baseboard there, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 5 shots on that target without having to correct for recoil. So then you shift over to another target and correct for recoil. So I'm having to pull the mouse down less to adjust for that recoil. As compared to, let's go over here and swap out for, let's see, it's SA50, the FAL. This should be the heaviest recoiling gun. Got a suppressor on it, so that would technically help, but we're going to run it right here next to that group. So same deal, 1, 2. So I got 2 shots off and I'm off target. So I'm over here, like, I was pulling the mouse down during that the same as I was with the M4. Obviously much wider group, so harder hitting round, but not going to be as precise during your rapid fire engagements. Let's see, and so you can kind of compare, like, this SBR 556. Like I said, it was a 300 blackout. Also a little bit heavier recoiling, so I bet they haven't changed that. Yeah, so that was 1, 2. There's the third shot. Pulled to the right a little bit. So, yeah, you're only getting 3 shots on there. I'm actually going to check. Check the old Daniel defense here. But 5, 6 technically. Damn. That's pretty good. I'm going to run this. And make sure I switch back to the proper pistol. I'm going to run the clock. Got all my stuff changed up here. Not running pepper spray. I'm going to run C2 in case I need to breach a door. And top off the magazine. So real quick before I jump into a mission, I'm gonna show you one cool thing that I found just with this update. That is, if you throw on the I think it's Night Force Adakar here. It's a 1x12 optic. There's currently not a way to, that I've found at least, there's not a way to adjust the zoom on that optic. So obviously it says it's 1x12, but you can throw on Tech 15 here, and currently this is the only gun it'll let you do this with. But so aiming down sights, default key is P. It'll actually let you shift to a candid sight here. So it's really good for point shooting. Throw on night vision, just a little bit washed out, but it's the only way I found to actually do point shooting. And they did a good job of also factoring in your point of aim and point of impact. Because if you notice, I'm going to aim far right, that line on the right side of the sight there. Oh, it actually hit on this guy. First gun I tested it on. Let me try it on this one. Yeah, there we go. Bottom right corner. Yeah, so it's hitting a little high into the left, which is it's realistic, factoring in where the laser's at and how it's zeroed. So I like that they added that in this game. Kill the nods. Switch back to the EOTech. And I just flagged the shit out of that guy, but he doesn't care. Get his unblinking eyes. Oh, did he blink? Did he blink? He has no soul. Okay. See, just real quick overview of the optics. You can go irons. Don't know why you would, but glad that they have the option. Got an EOTech EXPS3. I think that's a -1 or 2. I have a -0, and I love my EXPS3. But I like just the single dot and then the donut around it. If I had it on a gun that was meant to go out to longer ranges, I guess the additional dots would be pretty useful. But for my purposes, I just like the single dot and the donut of death. You have your aimpoint T2 micro, just a standard red dot. That looks like an aimpoint comp M4. Might not be what it is, but that's what it reminds me of. Trichcon SRS. It's a pretty neat optic. It's a E-Clan Spectre, I believe. This 1x4 optic. The game will let you use. There's a switch to it right quick. You see the circle and post there. The game will actually let you aim down that, but once again, I don't think it will actually let you adjust out of the 1x sight. So there's really not a reason to currently. And then the 1x12 Night Force Adakar, however you properly say that. So that's your optics, muzzle device. You have your suppressors, and then 2 brakes. guess one's a vertical muzzle brake and one's a horizontal. Horizontal muzzle brakes in real life really do more to mitigate recoil. I don't imagine there's many SWAT teams out there running muzzle brakes like this though, because it's really not pleasant to be next to a rifle, especially a rifle with a shorter barrel like this one, when it's going off and something's directing all of that overpressure and gas towards you, like if you're next to someone firing that in a CQB situation. It's not a fun thing. You have your control grip. I don't know if these have any bearing on the weapon's actual function in the game yet. There's at least one other grip, one of the Magpul like angled foregrips. It's not available on this gun for whatever reason. And then you have your Surefire, the 600V. I think the V variant has an IR component to it, so it'll work with night vision, which is cool, but this game doesn't actually let you use the IR illuminator that I believe that function has. I have a regular M600 Scout that I really enjoy. Never messed with the V variant though. And then the PEC 15 kind of makes this option useless. Not in the game, but in reality. PEC 15 does have a visible light laser and IR illuminator. I mean, I guess for balancing reasons right now, they have the visible light, and then they have the PEC 15 limited just to the IR laser. But I'm just going to run the flashlight for now, though, for the Shoothouse. I'm going to go check it out. Let's see, loaded firearms. Just checking out their safety signs here. Live ammo. Many have died from lack of head protection. Practice. Safety. Practice safety safely. That's pretty good. Weapon loading and unloading area. Safety first. Keep gun pointed in a safe direction. Keep your finger off the trigger until ready to shoot. Keep the gun unloaded until ready to use. You're missing some of the firearm safety rules there. The biggest one I would say for CQB is know your target's foreground and background. Because, you know, there could be a lot of things that don't need to be shot in the foreground and background of your target as a cop. So definitely something to factor in there. And all right, so I'm gonna run the Shoothouse right quick. Let's see how this goes. All right. It's locked right off the bat. We're just gonna use this lovely boot. Damn. Yeah, the doors, did they lock? Keep putting the boot into it. That's I guess that's just a target. Buy this one out. Stuff. Yeah, they really nailed the movement in this game. Except they locked every door in the Shoothouse. It's just casually. So they nailed the movement in here though, because it feels slow and methodical, but you feel like you have good control over your character. Versus a game like Arma, where Arma is very much like you get used to it, you can feel comfortable moving around, but for the most part It's the window I looked through a minute ago. So, like, that's one of the cool things that they added. You can kind of pop up over cover, holding the control and pressing W. And you can kind of shift around real quick around cover if you need to, just holding control down. So it is pretty cool for situations like that where I came around my guns, I'm too close to this cover here, and I can just pop over and fire those 2 rounds. So keep moving here. Try to clear as much of this room from the outside as I can, since I am doing this sketchy one-man CQB. Got 2 bullet holes here, so I wonder where that some of my rounds over penetrated into this room. With the boot. Well, that was a little too bright on that, the white edges of the target there. Let's see. And you'll notice I'm trying to do a little dynamic flashlight action there. So I'll show that when I'm done with the whole shoot house. I might have caught his shoulder. He lived. Is he getting a nice lawsuit from the agency? Probably. He's still happy though. Look at that. Swell dude. But that's what I was saying with that the game factors in your point of aim, point of impact, and height over bore. My optics were on the head, like on playing pretty much any other game. That would have been double headshots, and the hostage would have been fine. But that's where you can almost develop training scars inside of video games, because you know, if you play a bunch of games that, because most games generate your bullet from your point of aim. So, like, if you could actually see where the bullet's coming from, it's coming from your scope, not the actual barrel of your gun. And some games get this right, like Squad and Arma. Most mil-sim type games get it right, but I mean, you can see not aim remotely on the hostage, hitting the hostage. So if I aim up here, once again using that little donut of death, put that right there, and I'm still hitting below it because of how close I am. But back off here. So same deal, donut of death. But cool thing that the game factors that in. You notice I was clicking my flashlight on and off a lot, and that's really just a technique that I know a lot of people have probably trained on it this way. I'd never really thought about it until probably 4 or 5 years ago. I saw Travis Haley broke it down pretty well. He was just explaining how you know, if you're say clearing this area back here, your light's on and you're moving around right here, you're essentially, like, say somebody's hiding in this corner, you're drawing a line to where you're at this whole time right here. Or, you know, if you're going to come into this room and say you're low ready, and like somebody blows the door and you come up with your light, you just drew a straight line back to where you're at. So if your light's off, and same deal if you come in and sweep the room, like if somebody's hiding in that corner, and you know, you should be coming in, if you're number one man, you're taking the heavy side of the room, so you should be coming in facing that. But you know, if you cover here first, or if you're one man like I've been this whole way, and you know, say you open from this side, if you pan the light around here, this dude would know exactly where you're at. Or heck, this dude with a hostage here, because it's not until I hit this point that I can see him. So this right here tells him, gives him a pretty good idea of where I'm at, and he can start waylaying rounds through the door. Whereas you know, if I'm doing that number and then like moving in here, somebody's hiding back there, that quick flash in the light, that's, I mean, it's, the light's always going to give your position away to some extent, but it's not going to be as severe when you you can manipulate it better that way. So it's a good area where games can create good habits, making you learn height over bore, making you learn light discipline. And this game did flashlights really well, because your light actually carries a good ways. You can see all the way up in the top corner there, like way out into the room. Some games, flashlights are absolutely useless. Grand Theft Auto Unmodded is a really good example to me. You can get weapons with flashlights on them, but since you're generally fighting outside in that game, like, you have a tactical light that in real life would throw light, you know, at least 100 meters. Like, you know, it's a 600 to 1,000 lumen light. Maybe 300 on a pistol, but you're still going to be able to blast out pretty good. This pistol and rifle light looks about the same on here. But, yeah, something that this game nailed. There's a less than lethal training area. Look at this guy being a good hostage. Or, not a good hostage, a good suspect. We're going to shoot Kevin from accounting here. Just going to keep moving. And so that was the Shoothouse. Pretty cool that they've got that. Alright, I actually changed my mind. I'm gonna cut the video there because I know it's already long enough. And one of my next videos will be me running my first mission on here. So stay tuned for that. So hope you liked what you saw here. This very likely is my first video that I'm putting up on the channel. I have a couple other things in the works, but so let me know where you feel like I could have done better. Sorry for the no, I was kind of coughing and hacking at the start of it and having to clear my throat a bit. But anyways, thanks for checking it out. Stay sexy, stay deadly. Catch you next time.